Everyone at school knew I, George, was the infamous penny pincher. As a top student from a poor family, I scrimped and saved on everything, wishing I could split every cent in half just to stretch it further. But one day, Willow suddenly posted a picture of the iPhone I gave her in her girlfriend's group chat, along with a screenshot of our conversation showing I transferred her 1314, a number that symbolizes eternal love. In the chat, I wrote, "Willow, this is all my living expenses, as long as it makes you happy. I'll give you whatever you ask for." All her gorgeous friends were in that group, and Willow was the most beautiful of them all. One of them replied, "Classic Willow, so that cold and aloof academic genius, just another simp." Another chimed in, "She really sacrificed a lot, seducing the nerd just to get revenge for Bamboo Horse." Yet another said, "Willow, you're brutal. You're seriously planning to tell him you've got a terminal illness right before the college entrance exams? That's gotta destroy him." Then Willow sent a short voice message, "We'll break up after the exams." Hearing Willow's casual tone in the recording, it was nothing like the pitiful voice she used around me. This whole time, I'd been taking leave from school again and again to stay by her side in the hospital. My grades plummeted. Willow would lie weakly in bed, pulling out a forged cancer report, whimpering, "George, I'm sorry I'm dragging you down. Please stop spending money on my treatment." She knew I was already penniless from paying for her so-called medical bills. Willow thought I'd finally give up on her. She didn't expect me to pull out another $300,000 to try to save her life. Chapter 1. Studying had always come easy to me. If I wanted to, I could be top of the class without breaking a sweat. I also inherited good looks from my parents. Aside from being poor, I really didn't have many flaws. When I entered middle school, my mother married a wealthy businessman. She left me with a debit card and said, "Don't contact me again. I'll transfer money to you every year." To outsiders, she claimed to be single. She didn't want my existence interfering with her second marriage. I didn't react. I accepted the card and told everyone I was an orphan. I'd always been emotionally indifferent. My mother didn't like me. She much preferred the son left behind by that businessman's ex-wife. Even though there was no blood relation, she soon posted a photo on her social media, her standing in the middle, holding her stepson's hand with a warm smile. The stepson's name was Makoto, a textbook example of a rich, second-generation heir. My mother held his hand, while Makoto forced an awkward smile, lips stiff, clearly unwilling. For the first time, someone else's smile felt like a slap in the face. Life was bland and joyless. My only source of excitement was finding people who could stir any emotion in me. So, I moved, bought a modest 60-square-meter apartment in a top school district, and transferred into Makoto's high school. Chapter 2. Just like the first time I laid eyes on Makoto, he couldn't stand me. He and his little clique constantly bullied me. I didn't fight back. Instead, I skipped school the week before the joint entrance exams among 8 top schools. Our second high school had long been overshadowed by first high school, with me holding the top academic spot. The school wouldn't want me to miss the test. When the homeroom teacher called, I mustered up the courage and asked, "Teacher, can I transfer to another class?" "Transfer classes?" She immediately picked up on something in my tone. Her voice softened. "Is someone in class bothering you? Don't be afraid, I'll take care of it." I hesitated. "And no, it's just, I don't really fit in with them." After hanging up, I buried the unease and timidity I'd shown. I knew I was never a saint. I always get even. 2 days later, the teacher called me back to school. There were security cameras on campus. She had spent an entire day reviewing footage. And once she confirmed that Makoto had been targeting me both openly and secretly for 2 months, she immediately reported it to the administration. The school took it seriously. Under the national flag, Makoto bit his lip and read out a humiliating public apology. He lost face in front of the whole school. And from that day on, he utterly hated me. He snapped, "That bastard George. If he wasn't so good at studying, the teachers wouldn't be kissing up to him." He turned to someone and said, "Sophia, can you do me a favor?" Outside a corner cafe, Makoto placed his hand on a girl's shoulder. Their eyes met. The girl, Sophia, looked confused, then gave a slight nod. She asked, "So, what exactly do you want me to do?" Makoto smirked. "Whatever works. You're gorgeous. Find a way to mess with him, embarrass him, expose him. Let's see what kind of god he can pretend to be after that." He pulled her into his arms with a cocky grin. "Well, you confident?" Sophia gave a snort. "Seriously, a broke loser like him? I'll crook my finger and he'll be licking my boots. Just wait, watch me turn him into my little lapdog." Chapter 3. My boring life had suddenly gotten a lot more interesting. For example, all of a sudden, beautiful girls started showing up around me, eager to get close. You know how the saying goes, there's no such thing as a free lunch, and hot girls don't just throw themselves at you. But I'm the top student and the school heartthrob. So yeah, different rules apply. One of them said, George, a Michelin-starred restaurant just opened. Take me there, please? I replied, no money, not going. Sophia was from class 11. She stood about 168 centimeters tall, with sharp features and a striking face. She was a natural flirt. She was one of Makoto's pawns, his adopted sister, no less. Beautiful, well-off, and fond of partying with mixed groups of guys and girls, regardless of age. She made it blatantly obvious she was into me. So rumors quickly spread in class that we were dating. It didn't take long before our homeroom teacher called the two of us into the office, joined by the teacher from her class. Her homeroom teacher was the stern, no-nonsense type. He looked at her coldly and said, I usually don't bother with your messes, but this is too much. You're a girl, what are you doing clubbing and hanging out at karaoke bars every other night? That's no place for someone your age. You're a student. Try focusing on your studies for once. Then, his tone shifted sharply, and since your grades are already bad, stop dragging others down with you. I've already called your parents. Expect a 1,000-word reflection on my desk tomorrow. Oh, and I spoke with them about your plans to pursue art. They're not on board. Don't think of art as some shortcut to success. Your art instructor told me you're too distracted when you draw. You're not cut out for exams. Sophia frowned, staying silent. Her teacher just kept hammering her with criticism, like a machine gun that wouldn't stop. The room was noisy with his scolding, when he once again told her not to interfere with my studies. I interrupted, calm and emotionless. Sir, she won't affect me. I'll still be number one. The class 11 teacher froze, about to erupt, but my teacher stepped in protectively and waved us off. That's enough, both of you. Out. Chapter 4. After that, Sophia started approaching me constantly with questions, sending flirty messages, even giving me a scarf she'd knitted herself. She was basically like my mom when she fished for sugar daddies. Any guy with a pulse would fall for it. Too bad for her. I'd seen my mom pull this routine too many times. I looked at Sophia without much interest and rejected her advances. You're terrible at studying, I said flatly. She looked all pitiful and said, George, not everyone can learn as easily as you. I cut in, but you are talented at painting. The sadness vanished from her face instantly. She lit up with hope and moved closer. You really think so? You really think I'm talented at painting? My teacher says I just scribble nonsense. Yeah, I replied simply. Then she said, everyone says I'm dumb and can't do anything right. She started venting, complaining that her family wouldn't let her draw and wanted to send her abroad. I cut her off again. All right, I'm heading home. If she were really the seasoned flirt she pretended to be, she'd know better than to show her vulnerabilities to someone who hadn't fallen for her yet. That just makes you easy to manipulate. She pressed her lips together and said, George, don't you want me to teach you how to draw? Her eyes, gorgeous, almond-shaped eyes, were her best feature. I like beautiful things. I looked at her and smiled. Sure, your eyes are stunning. Teach me to draw them. Her cheeks flushed pink. Her hand trembled slightly as she held her brush. Guess no matter how bold she acts, she's still just 18, still slips up and shows her innocence. I looked at her face and gave a soft chuckle. This was the same girl who once said I'd be groveling at her feet like a dog. So much for that. I glanced at her painting and compared it to the awful sketch I'd just finished. I sighed. Looks like I really don't have any artistic talent. Sophia smiled sweetly. That's not true. You're already amazing at school. George. I set the brush down. It smudged. I don't like things once they're dirty. That goes for women, too. She froze, staring blankly into my eyes. Meanwhile, I was staring at the picture she drew. The eyes in the drawing were mine. Calm, empty, emotionless. Sophia's eyes started to redden. She forced a weak smile and turned to leave quickly. Then I felt a wave of hostility. Makoto was glaring at the brush that had fallen to the floor. Sophia had always treated that brush, Makoto's gift, as a precious treasure. But today, she let it drop. I picked it up and tossed it into the trash. Looks like someone new is going to step in. I hope they're more entertaining. Chapter 5. The results of the joint exam between the 8 schools came out. I ranked first. Not just in my school, but across all 8. I beat the second-place student by over 30 points. As my photo and transcript spread online, second high completely overshadowed all the other schools. Our class was rated as an excellent class and received public commendation. As for Makoto, who used to bully me, I always wore a gentle, forgiving smile. I said, it's all in the past. As long as he's willing to change, that's what matters. The more forgiving I was, the worse Makoto's reputation became. Every day, Makoto glared at me with vicious eyes, hatred practically burning in them. Meanwhile, praise for me surrounded me like a chorus. Some would say, study God, please let this humble underling worship you. Just staring at his photo, can I level up my chemistry by 10 points? I just want to reach 85. Please. How did he get a perfect score? Math was perfect too. I give up. He's insane. Someone else added. And his essay scores in Chinese weren't low either. He's like a hexagon warrior, perfect in all areas. But not everyone was a fan. I heard he's a total faker. Someone said, acts like he's slacking in class, but burns the midnight oil like crazy at home. Another immediately shot that down. Don't listen to that crap. George is definitely a genius. I sit next to him. I watched him all day yesterday. Guy's in peak condition. Even played basketball during the break. That rumor was probably planted by Makoto out of jealousy. When I returned to my seat, my deskmate asked, George, all those hot girls are into you, don't you like even one of them? I shook my head again. Makoto's little actresses had such awful acting skills, and worse, they were boring. My deskmate nodded and said, now that is what a real man looks like. Besides Sophia, Makoto had sent at least 5 different girls, all with different styles, trying to lure me in. But I crave novelty, people who spark my curiosity. They all fell short. Then one day, a transfer student joined the class. She had a face that could tempt saints. She was stunning. Her figure, absolutely killer. Even her voice turned sugary when she pouted. But most of all, she was interesting. Others dropped hints, played coy. She flaunted her beauty and openly seduced. I looked at Willow, who stood before me dripping wet. Someone had splashed her with water, and now her white blouse clung to her waist. She'd clearly done it on purpose. I smiled. Bullied again? I asked gently. She nodded, her long wet hair falling around her face. My fingertips landed on the front of her shirt. Your button's broken, I said. Poor little things always get sympathy. She clutched my hand timidly, baiting me. Do people find me annoying? She asked. They all say I'm unbearable. They isolate me, bully me. I looked at her sweet, innocent outfit. Then at the video someone had just sent me anonymously. In a noisy VIP room, Willow slapped a man across the face. She looked at him with pure contempt. You, a loser like you thinks you deserve to chase me. You're not even good enough to carry my shoes. Makoto watched, amused, then pinned the man to the ground on Willow's signal. She stepped on the back of his head with her high heel, pressing his face against the floor. But I guess, she said, you do make a decent doormat. She was a good actress. Just then, a cherry blossom petal drifted down, landing perfectly in her hair. She looked like a picture of innocence, but the girl in front of me didn't know. Women's jealousy is terrifying. On the very first day I publicly complimented her looks. Someone didn't hesitate to expose Willow for who she really was. I took a tissue and gently wiped her wet hair. Then I asked, do you want to be my deskmate? Chapter 6. The 2 buildings next to the school were donated by the Liu family, and I happened to be the top student in the whole school. So when I requested to switch seats, the homeroom teacher agreed without hesitation. The school even transferred me a scholarship grant. After class, as I was packing up my textbooks, a soft, wet kiss landed on my cheek. Willow Liu whispered, top students like you don't even need to study to ace exams, right? Can't you spend more time with me tonight? Her coy tone carried a faint trace of contempt. She gently bit down on the fingers I used to stop her, her lips full and dewy, her eyes flirtatious as she stared at me. I said, there are cameras in the classroom. She leaned closer, whispering, then is it okay once we're home? I smiled. Depends on how hard you try. We'd been secretly dating for a month, one more month, and it would be time for the college entrance exams. Balancing love and studies wasn't a problem for me. Even with Willow constantly taking away my homework and books for various reasons, I still held my spot at the top of the grade. But Willow wasn't giving up until she got me to drop in rank. Knowing no one else was home, she boldly followed me back to my place. Willow hated studying, but the moment I stepped through the door, I grabbed her and made her do practice questions. She stared at the formulas with utter reluctance and asked, if I solve them, will you spend time with me, big bro? I nodded. Finally, after she got the answer right, she looped her arms around my neck and pursed her lips. I'm done. You promised, remember? 18-year-old girls are irresistibly fresh and tempting. I let myself enjoy it, for a moment, but Willow stared into my clear, alert eyes and pouted. George, I said. Your answer's wrong. I flipped to the last page and circled her mistakes. Willow wore the words, refuses to think, right on her face. She believed studying didn't matter, not when she had her family to fall back on. She started throwing a tantrum, clutching my arm like a spoiled child. All you care about is studying, studying, studying. George, it's like you don't even like me. I didn't spare her a second glance. You can't spoil a girl when she's throwing a fit. What? Am I supposed to comfort her? She came to seduce me on Makoto's orders, so obviously, she's the one who should be providing emotional value to me. To be fair, she is beautiful. I had no awareness that we were in a cold war. I simply let her skip breakfast, using her own body as leverage to force me into caring about her. I stroked her hair. Her lovely eyes were full of grievance, like she couldn't handle being ignored. She clutched her stomach and turned her back to me. But what she didn't know is, only people who've already caught feelings get upset when others ignore them. From beginning to end, I was just calmly watching her tantrum like a bystander. Then came another anonymous video message. All familiar faces. It was Makoto's little seduction squad again. Someone said, "Willow really is something. Just showed up and already has George head over heels." Another voice chimed in. "Willow, what did you do to get George to tell the teacher himself he wanted to switch deskmates?" Then Willow's voice came through, crisp and proud beneath a layer of smugness. "What's the big deal? I thought he'd be different from other guys, but one finger curl and he came crawling." Sophia asked. "So, when do you plan to dump him?" Willow giggled. "Same as the others, after he gets a vasectomy for me." Glass shattered in the background. Sophia had knocked over her drink. Makoto teased. "Don't tell me you actually like him. It's been weeks, and his grades haven't dropped at all. Looks to me like he doesn't even care about you." The music in the bar was loud, but one line from Willow still came through loud and clear, light and scornful. "Me, fall for some penniless orphan, as if. I've got the cancer report ready. 1 month before the entrance exams, watch how I play him." The anonymous sender asked me. She said all that. "Do you still like Willow?" As usual, I didn't reply. Why would I ruin such a fun game? One spoiled heiress after another lining up to please me. Playing the love interest just to win me over. As long as I don't fall in love, I'm the one who stays in control and has all the fun. Chapter 7. The results of the first round of mock exams were released. Willow used to score in the low 400s. Now, under my watch, she broke past 500, still bottom 7th in the grade. I was over 200 points ahead of her. Ranked first overall. First in every single subject. I told her, "You've made progress tonight. Make sure to finish the worksheets. I've already highlighted the key points. Don't make the same mistakes on similar questions." I picked up Willow's physics paper and frowned at the third to last question. "You messed this one up again. You just got it wrong last time too." Willow pressed her lips together and said nothing. Her hand clearly clutching her stomach, eyes constantly flicking toward me. I set down the paper just as I was about to tidy the desk. She grabbed my sleeve in frustration, tears glimmering in her eyes. "You can't see I'm in pain. You only care about my grades." Her gentleness and fragility were just a facade. Now, her eyes were filled with barely concealed resentment. I'd seen that look before, on Sophia, the spoiled heiress type, the kind that thinks her beauty is enough to play with hearts, but give them a little sweetness, and they'll crumble completely. I gently ruffled her hair, my tone full of concern. "But Willow, kids from families like ours only have one way out, studying. I know you don't like school, so I have to work even harder. I don't want us to have no future. That way, maybe I'll be able to support you one day. I bought you breakfast. There's stomach medicine next to the lunchbox. Don't be like this again." Willow reined in the dissatisfaction in her eyes. As she accepted the food container from my hand, she froze. She had forgotten. The persona she was playing for me was that of a poor, delicate girl, not some rich heiress who could live just fine without studying. For once, Willow was quiet. She sat beside me, finished her meal, and didn't bother me again. Chapter 8. When I got home, I heard a sound coming from the wardrobe. I frowned. "She's not here. You can come out," a female voice replied. "I'm dirty." As if Willow's any cleaner. Her heart's filthier. The next second, Sophia threw herself into my arms. Last night, Sophia and Willow had come to my place, one right after the other. To avoid misunderstandings, I'd hidden Sophia in the wardrobe. What I didn't expect was, she stayed in there the entire day. She rose up on tiptoe and pressed her warm lips to mine. Her body was burning with fever. Sophia usually wore bold, eye-catching clothes. But today she was in a plain white dress, looking deceptively pure and innocent. Ironically, it was one of the outfits I'd bought for Willow. Because of the fever, the red mole near Sophia's eye was now even more noticeable, glowing pink. She knew exactly how to play to her strengths. And those moist, alluring eyes stared right at me. But this flower was poisonous. Nice to look at, but not to taste. Willow was cleaner. Willow was prettier. Why would I ever choose the inferior one? I ignored the hurt in Sophia's eyes and shoved her away. "My girlfriend doesn't like you. You should leave." "She doesn't like me." Sophia's voice cracked, sharp and wounded. "What's so great about her?" She grabbed my sleeve, gaze murky and trembling. "George, you know what she's really like. Why are you still indulging her? Why is she the only one allowed near you? Is it because you're into her looks?" "But what real side?" I asked, feigning confusion. I had never replied to any of the anonymous messages Sophia sent about Willow. She couldn't be sure if I truly knew Willow's secrets. Realizing she'd slipped, Sophia clenched her fists in frustration. She was a liar too. Of course she wouldn't dare expose another liar. Then came a knock at the door. The tense, ambiguous atmosphere shattered. I glanced at Sophia. feeling a little awkward. Whatever she was about to say got stuck in her throat. She knew she had no right to question me. Sophia withdrew her hand, pouting miserably. So where are you planning to hide me this time? I kept my tone even and handed her a glass of water. You've got a fever. Take care of yourself. Her eyes lit up instantly, like a wilted flower catching a drop of rain. Finding momentary life. Then came an angry voice from the door. What are you doing at George's place? Chapter 9. Willow, burning with fury, slapped Sophia hard across the face. Sophia didn't fight back. She just cried out weakly. George. I quickly pulled Willow aside. She has a fever, I said. Willow pressed her lips together and snapped. A fever? If she's sick, why didn't she go to the hospital instead of coming here? Just like Makoto said, you're a player, a total scumbag. That was the last straw. I lost all patience. I tossed the stomach medicine at her and said, think whatever you want, both of you. Leave. Just before leaving, Sophia turned back and muttered, I'll wash it before giving it back. Willow and Sophia had practically grown up together. Now, staring at the white dress on Sophia, that was clearly a size too short, Willow asked slowly, word by word, you gave my dress to her. But just as she was about to throw a fit, I cut in. Do you have anything you've been hiding from me? Her rage was instantly doused like a bucket of cold water. Panic flared in her eyes. I closed my eyes and rubbed my brow, letting the sadness seep into my voice. Just now, she said you were lying to me. I sighed. If that's true, if you really lied to me, I won't forgive you. There were only 2 weeks left before the college entrance exams. A few days ago, I'd found a crumpled up cancer diagnosis form in the trash. The name on it was Willow. She had actually caught feelings. She'd decided to stop lying, to throw the report away and focus on her studies. She didn't want to play this game anymore. But how could I let the game end before it hit its climax? While Willow was fumbling for an excuse, I pulled her into a tight hug and said with deep emotion, don't be afraid. Even in the worst case scenario, I won't abandon you. You don't have to force yourself to study anymore, just focus on getting better. Her eyes widened in fear as she saw the wrinkled cancer report clenched in my hand. She wanted to say something, but no words came. In the end, she simply nodded, admitting that she did have cancer. One lie always demands 1,000 more to keep it afloat. Willow was admitted to the hospital, and I began running back and forth between school and the ward. Because of the stress, I didn't even finish the last 2 mock exams. Makoto looked at me with those smug, omniscient eyes and sneered. Pathetic. You've fallen this far over a girl. Rumors flew everywhere. All I did was slump over my desk, sighing now and then, occasionally squeezing out a few tears. Someone asked. George used to be the top of the grade. What happened? Another classmate replied. Not sure. Makoto said George got into an early relationship, and that the girl bled him dry like a free ATM. But I don't buy that. It's gotta be someone deliberately trying to seduce the class genius. Someone else chimed in. Who even believes a word Makoto says anymore? He's clearly just spreading lies. George already forgave him for what he did, and now he pulls this. Disgusting. Makoto, desperate to look superior, spread a rumor in class that I was just a simp who'd gotten scammed out of all my money and still refused to wake up. But with his track record, no one believed a thing he said. Chapter 10. During Willow's stay in the hospital, I took meticulous care of her, doing everything I could. I spent nearly all my money. Even my college tuition went into paying for her treatment. Willow, once lively and talkative, became quieter and more withdrawn. A week before the college entrance exams, she pulled out a new cancer report. She said, George, I'm sorry I've been such a burden on you. Don't spend any more money on me. The doctor said the treatment would cost 300,000 yuan. She avoided my eyes and told me to give up on her. But I just shook my head and patted her on the head. Get better soon. I'll wait for you to take the exams. The anonymous messages never stopped coming. I saw chat logs where Willow had once proudly shared the birthday gift I gave her for her 18th, and the transfer I made using the symbolic number representing love. She mocked how I drained all my savings just to make her smile, saying no one could be more pathetic than me. I also saw her casually write, I'll break up with him after the entrance exam, but that was 2 months ago. Now, Willow was quiet. She hadn't spoken in the group chats either. The anonymous sender ran out of options and began bombarding me with old evidence again. Messages kept coming. George, you're really going to throw your life away for that manipulative witch? You used to be number 1 in the whole grade. She's not even sick, and you're just going to hand over 300,000 like that? Are you insane? As they raged on, I idly twirled my pen and finally replied, I don't check this account much. Just saw your messages. If it's all a lie, then Willow's illness must be fake too. Well, that's great news. After a pause, they asked, George, where'd you even get the 300,000? I answered, sold the apartment. The only thing my mother left me. Hopefully, One day I can buy it back. Thanks for telling me the truth. I didn't go back to the hospital. I returned to school. Makoto sneered with his usual venom. The school genius is back. You've fallen out of the top 200, and you're still skipping class. You think you're some kind of prodigy? Some nosy classmates asked if I really had a girlfriend. I clenched my jaw and stayed silent. Makoto scoffed. Not pretending anymore. Got played like a clown, didn't you? Guys like you, simps like you, deserve to be used. Makoto, shut your mouth. Sophia's voice rang out from the doorway. Before returning to school, I had told the anonymous sender I was done with Willow. Sophia rushed to our classroom, and hearing Makoto's words, her eyes burned with anger. Makoto snapped. What, so now you like that idiot too? He had always been bitter about Sophia having feelings for me. The entire class gasped in shock. I sighed and looked at Sophia, forcing a tired smile. You were the one messaging me, right? Thanks. I know the truth now. I'll give my all on tomorrow's exams. Makoto's face darkened. He glared at Sophia. What did you do? All he ever cared about was beating me. Now that he'd finally pulled ahead, there was no way he could let me bounce back during finals. But Sophia didn't give him what he wanted. Under his furious gaze, she exposed everything Willow had done. When she mentioned how Willow had manipulated her past boyfriends into getting vasectomies under psychological pressure, everyone was stunned. A dogfight. Neither Sophia nor Makoto came out clean. They were both dragged across social media, hundreds of comments tearing them apart. No one likes to see a top student fall from grace. I'd always had a stellar reputation. Falling to the 200s in rank for the sake of some twisted heiress caused a stir across the school. The moment I walked out of the exam room, all my classmates looked at me with pity. I gave a pale smile and left. Willow didn't dare show her face at the exam site. From beginning to end, I was the perfect, blameless victim. Even Willow's parents didn't scold me when they came looking. They said, "Our daughter crossed a line and brought great trouble to the school. We're planning to send her abroad." The ever-superior Liu family sat across from me. Even while apologizing, they could barely muster any sincerity. They said, "There's 10 million in this account. Think of it as compensation. If you ever want to study abroad, we can help arrange a recommendation letter." I looked at the card. To their surprise, I turned them down. I said, "If she's not actually sick, then this is the best outcome we could hope for." Playing the emotional card, I saw Willow's mother's expression soften slightly. She said, "Willow always disliked boys. I used to think she was just playing around, so I didn't pay much attention, and that led to mistakes. But when she was with you, she did seem to change. Her grades even improved. Back then, I arranged for a scholarship transfer to your name. This money means little to us, consider it a small token." The Liu family knew how to be diplomatic. Warm words laced with pressure, making refusal nearly impossible. And just before they left, Willow's mother looked at me with an evaluating gaze. She asked, "Did you really like my daughter?" I smiled and replied, "I did back then." Understanding the subtext, she didn't push further. She only said, "In that case, I hope you'll never contact Willow again." Makoto stood at the doorway, waiting. Once Willow's parents were gone, he looked down at me with smug superiority. "You didn't actually think Willow ever loved you, did you? Different worlds, different leagues. There was never going to be a happy ending. What a shame. Our little school genius. Now you don't even have a chance to claw your way back up." I stared at his bitter, twisted face and let out a quiet laugh. "Oh yeah," I said. Chapter 11. The genius who fell from grace in just 1 month. After I provoked Makoto, he couldn't take it. He pieced together the story of how I skipped school, blew all my money, and spiraled for a girl, then posted it online. At least half the internet sided with him. Some commented, "He's not just pitiful, he's pathetic. His family can't even afford basic meals, and he's out here buying iPhones and wiring money to his girlfriend." Others chimed in, "He deserves it. Simps always end up with nothing." With some strategic guidance from the Ito family, the narrative began to tilt rapidly. Then I got a cold message from my mother. "What the hell are you thinking? You think you've grown wings and can take on the system? You're an adult now. Handle your own mess. Don't drag me into it." I stared at the text without emotion and deleted her from my contacts. My mother had always wanted to climb the social ladder. Too bad her luck sucked. She married my father the first time, only for the family to go bankrupt within a few years, buried in debt. My father jumped off a building. Debt dies with the debtor. And I was left at home, left to survive on my own. I always wondered what high society looked like through her eyes. Now I see. Yes, the powerful and the rich do live comfortably. Makoto's smear campaign went viral, climbing the trending lists. The post where thousands once called him out had vanished. He'd nearly rebranded himself as the tragic victim, a betrayed best friend. The Liu and Ito families had long-standing ties and mutual interests. Naturally, No one would speak up for a nobody like me. When the college entrance exam scores were finally released, everyone who knew the story was watching my result. In the class group chat, I saw Makoto had overperformed, barely making the Tier 1 university cut. He made no effort to hide his disdain. He tagged me directly. "Hey, genius, what did you get?" Most of the class didn't like the way he was acting. But he didn't care. He just wanted to see me crash and burn. "No way you scored higher than me, right? Didn't you only get a little over 500 last time?" Makoto mocked. Even nosy netizens were hovering, waiting for my score. I looked at the screen, a row of zeros. Not from scoring 0. It was a perfect score, unless someone else also nearly aced the entire exam. I was likely ranked number 1 in the province. With that kind of score, elite universities would be fighting over me. There was no way my future would be anything but bright. A week later, I sat in my 60 square meter apartment, accepting media interviews. Netizens buzzed with comments. "A true god descending to the mortal world. Oh my god. Orphan parents. Isn't that a main character backstory? Left home for love. Ended up acing the imperial exam. If I were a princess and the consort looked like this, I wouldn't say no. With that face and those scores, which vixen ended up with him?" Someone asked, "What does the vixen look like?" I'm curious, and at that moment, there was a vixen, kneeling at my feet in a white pleated skirt I liked. She dressed and acted 7/10 like Willow used to when she was pretending. This was the same girl who once said she'd make me crawl and lick her shoes like a dog. Now she looked like an abandoned pup, begging for my love. Sophia whimpered. "I didn't do it right, huh? Tell me what type you like. I'll be whatever you want. Do you still like Willow, that two-faced snake?" Her eyes were full of sorrow, but I felt nothing. Her love came too easily, and left just as fast. It had no value to me, I said. "Sophia, I know about your little chat with Makoto outside the cafe." That one sentence shattered all her hope. Her voice sharpened in disbelief. "So, you knew all along? You always knew we were faking it?" This time, she really cried. Not fake tears, real ones, dripping to the floor. I said gently, "Your eyes are truly beautiful." She paused her sobbing and looked at me with hatred. "You sweet-talking liar. I should have seen your true colors earlier." I crouched down and told a gentle lie. "I didn't know at first. Makoto told me. He said you were just toying with me. That's why I threw away your sketch pen." Just one lie. If it could sever their bond completely, it was worth it. I held out my hand. "I'm sorry, I bought a new one. Call it my way of saying thanks for telling me the truth." Smiling, I handed her the brand new pen. As she reached for it, it slipped to the floor. I kept going. "From now on, let's not keep in touch. I'm not really into low performers." As I shut the door, I heard her voice behind me, choked with tears. "I'll change. George, I'll be whatever you want." I replied with one sentence. "I don't like your dear stepbrother Makoto, and I don't like you either. The poor can't fight capital, but they can strike the heart." After finally settling things with Sophia, I received a message from the Liu family. Chapter 12. Mrs. Liu sat across from me, looking much more haggard than the last time we met. Her gaze was dark and tired. I asked, "Ma'am, what brings you here?" "I haven't contacted Willow during this time. You can rest assured." I sat politely, my tone courteous. There was no reason to make an enemy out of someone who had once handed me 10 million with calm grace. Mrs. Liu hesitated for a while before finally speaking. "Could I trouble you to go see my daughter? She's not in a good state." "Not in a good state." I echoed the phrase, tasting its meaning. Then I slowly shook my head and said, "Ma'am, I know I come from a background that doesn't match Willow's. It's best if I don't see her anymore." I declined with a calm smile, but Mrs. Liu suddenly grabbed my hand. She lost her composure, and under my gaze, she lowered her head in a rare display of vulnerability. "She doesn't want to go abroad. She's been threatening suicide at home. Please, she's my only daughter. If she really kills herself, I'll have nothing left. Just go see her, if you're willing. I'll give you 1% of Liu Corporation's shares, and a position in the company." It was a blunt offer. An open door into high society laid before me. She was confident no one could refuse, but I simply shook my head. Then, just as her eyes filled with disappointment, I said, "Take me to her." Chapter 13. Just as I'd expected, someone like Willow, with her personality, was never nurtured in a truly loving home. So the first person she ever fell in love with, she couldn't let go of that easily. Even if it meant starving herself or self-harming, she had to see the one she longed for. When I arrived, she was tied down to the hospital bed. A nurse beside her helping her sip water, and 4 in her left arm, gauze wrapped around her right wrist, and a red mark across her neck. Clearly, she'd gone through some kind of extreme struggle. The moment the door opened, she screamed, "Get out. I'm not marrying Makoto, and I never want to see him again." I walked up and started untying the restraints. Willow calmed down, furrowed her brows, and turned her face away, ashamed to let me see her like this. Choking back sobs, she said, "You already know I'm a liar. Why did you still come?" I ruffled her hair like I always used to and said, "I've decided. I'm going to university, she replied. "Congrats, valedictorian." Then she turned her head, hiding under the blanket. Her voice was muffled. "Aren't you angry that I lied to you?" But she never actually fooled me, so what was there to be angry about? Mrs. Liu, standing behind me, was silently watching every move. I gave my usual warm, forgiving smile and said, "It's all in the past." Willow suddenly looked up, a trace of hope flickering in her eyes, but I didn't give her the chance to speak again. I turned and walked out. Mrs. Liu met me outside and offered the invitation once more, but this time, it wasn't a job, it was the chance to marry Willow. Then came Makoto, showing up at the hospital with flowers and fruit. Standing beside him was Mrs. Ito, who looked at the scene like she'd seen a ghost. I smiled lightly and said, "All right." A new game had begun, and this time, I was the one pulling the strings. Extra, from Willow's perspective. Chapter 1. The first time Willow laid eyes on George, her heart skipped a beat. That cold, aloof face, paired with a flawless academic record, he was certainly eye-catching. No wonder every girl Makoto had sent to seduce him had failed. They all said he was hard to approach, but Willow didn't think so. All it took was lowering herself a bit, acting pitiful, pretending they were from the same world, and George's sympathy was effortlessly hers. The conquest had been so easy, she actually felt bored, but then she saw how everyone in the group chat was jealous. Jealous that she was the only one who had succeeded, and suddenly, it felt exhilarating. So that night, when George gave her a birthday present for her 18th, she snapped a photo and posted it in the group chat. She even uploaded his lovey-dovey messages. "Love from a simp," she wrote, but she left out one detail. That very night, she'd also given George her first time. One girl replied, "That's so Willow. So much for a cold, unreachable genius, he's just a simp." Another added, "She really went all in. Hooked up with him just to help Makoto get revenge." Someone else chimed in, "You're ruthless, Willow. Planning to drop the 'I have cancer' bomb on him right before finals. That's savage." That last message made her uneasy. Ever since George said, "I'll take care of you in the future," something inside her shifted. One of her dresses could buy his entire wardrobe. How could he possibly support her? What money did he even have? Still, he looked so sincere. Maybe she'd let him off the hook, skip the cancer lie before finals. After exams, she'd tell him the truth and break up. Maybe, just maybe, he'd forgive her. So she wrote in the chat, "I'll break up with him after the exams." But what she didn't expect was, George had found the cancer report she'd thrown away. He broke down and hugged her like he was holding the entire world. And in that moment, her heart skipped again. Before she could stop herself, she admitted the lie was true. Chapter 2. George started skipping class for her, and his grades kept slipping. Makoto and the others in the group praised her, said she was good at this game, but all she felt was increasing frustration. The closer it got to exam day, the more suffocated she felt. The night before the college entrance exams, she was debating how to tell George the truth. Just as she was about to vent in the group chat, she saw something that shook her to her core. That bitch. What else does she have besides a pretty face? Why would George fall for someone like her? He sold his house for her. That was his mother's only inheritance. Filthy seductress. Sophia, did you tell George the truth yet? Then Sophia replied, "What are you doing? Wrong group. Willow's in here, delete the messages now." One by one, the messages were recalled, but Willow couldn't unsee them. All she could think about was, George knows. He knows the truth, and he still sold his mother's house for her lie. Chapter 3. Willow didn't take the college entrance exam the next day. She couldn't face George. She had never worried about someone else's grades before, until now. After the exams, George didn't come looking for her. It was like a sword hanging over her head, keeping her up night after night. When she saw George had ranked number 1 in the province, only then did she finally breathe. But George still didn't come to see her. Her family arranged a marriage between her and Makoto. Yet now, just looking at Makoto made her sick. She knew she wasn't a good person. But Makoto, he was worse, much worse. The more her family pressured her to go through with it, the more repulsed she became. Still, George never showed up. One day, staring down from a dimly lit floor, she found herself wondering what it would feel like to jump. It wasn't the first time that thought had come, but the closer the engagement ceremony approached, the louder it echoed in her mind. Chapter 4. One ordinary afternoon, her mind went completely blank. Screams rang out around her. Then everything turned to haze. She couldn't remember how long she'd fought her family, how many times she'd flirted with death. Eventually, a message of reluctant compromise came. Her mother looked at her with disappointment and said, "You've always been like this, hurting yourself to get your way, but you need to understand, that only works on people who actually care about you. I've called George. Whether he stays or not, that's up to you." It was like a dying person suddenly tasting water. Heaven's mercy. George said he was going to University A. She decided she'd go too, but after repeating a whole year of school, she realized she had no talent for studying at all. Meanwhile, George had already started managing a subsidiary, and he was doing a stellar job. Feeling defeated, she ignored her family's protests and enrolled in a second-tier university near University A. She didn't care about rankings or prestige. She just wanted to be near George. Every weekend, she'd wander near his campus, like a statue waiting for her husband to come home, just hoping to catch a glimpse of him. George in college was even more dazzling than in high school. Even her mother couldn't help but sing his praises. She looked at him like she wished he were her son. There were always people around George, but the one thing that brought her peace was knowing that his eyes only ever seemed to hold her. Chapter 5. By senior year, George had secured a spot in graduate school. The Ito family, once on par with the Lius, had spiraled into decline over the past 4 years. Makoto drugged her, tried to sleep with her. She pushed him off the bed, then jumped from the second-floor window. She ran out the front gate and saw her fiancé. She ran into George's arms, overwhelmed, but in his eyes, she caught a fleeting trace of disappointment. She didn't dare ask what he was disappointed about. Instead, she clung to him even more tightly. She became obsessed with caring for her appearance, making sure her face was always perfect. Chapter 6. By the time the Ito family collapsed, George was 28. Willow watched as Makoto's stepmother burst through the door, pointed at George, and called him an ungrateful bastard. A chill ran down Willow's spine. She clearly remembered George once said he was an orphan. She had etched into memory the day he sold his mother's only inheritance, just to pay her medical bills. But now, George looked unfazed and calmly called out, "Mother." That one word shattered every illusion she had left. She didn't dare ask why. At 28, George was still just her fiancé, and now, even her parents were starting to feel threatened by him. They took back his authority in the company, but it was far too late. His career had already taken off. The company he founded in college had formed alliances with major players. He'd become a rising star in the business world. Countless women surrounded him, and she looked like a bitter, resentful housewife. Everyone said she didn't deserve him, and when George finally suggested breaking off the engagement, everything became clear. She snapped out of her daze and realized this was never a love story. It had always been one long, elaborate con. The moment she told her first lie 10 years ago, the ending had already been written. She wanted to say, "Lie to me one more time, please," but she didn't. In the auditorium, the crowd roared. Cameras pointed at George as he spoke from the stage, calm and confident. And Willow. She never said that childish line out loud,